Oh, almost rainy. It smells delicious. I have a best friend here. Now, first, we see the best friend. Should I start my video over again? Should I? Because it was like this started on a news. Man, I feel like it didn't start right. Oh well. That's. But wait. That's the. Oh. Oh. Good morning. Good morning. You want to see a pretty face? Oh. This is my favorite part of her face. This little thing that hangs right here. Oh, I love all of her, but just little part hangs off the side. Oh, yes. These are rabbits. I know. We don't want to get too lighthearted around here. Yes, yes. Okay. So I'm watching the news, and good morning. Good morning. You want to say hello to everyone? Say hello. Say hello. And dancing. Say good morning. It's good morning to Dead Wolf. Good morning, Dead Wolf. Good morning, Dead Wolf. You have 12 people looking at you right now. 20 of them are looking at you now. 5. Okay, so I was watching the news. Let's see if we can revert. So I can get it back up for you and then pause. It was a CBS News thing on somebody who had done. Open YouTube, please. Here's YouTube. Somebody had taken like inner circle Trump information and had gone out there and went ahead and oh gosh, what's the guy's name? I don't remember it all right now. So there was this gentleman in the Trump camp who took inside information and went and placed bets and won like $400,000 placing bets on future events using inside information. And the newscasters on CBS were like, this is not really appropriate. And let's see. Search for The View. We'll see what we can catch up here. Getting that from YouTube. I used to do news commentary, and I'll tell you what, my original videos, which are now set to private, used to get a lot more views, but we would just do news commentary. So the first thing I thought of was how police, okay, let me backtrack. It is a well-known thing, okay, that whether you're talking about the prisons in America, that there's the outside of the grandfather clock, we see the cogs of justice turn, and we know how they turn and how they work, right? But the inside has a separate set of cogs that are fully acknowledged and used and utilized and fully operational, I should say. So it's always there, okay? So like I was born into the house of a man who's an advisor to two United States presidents at a senior policy level. This is my mom's brother. She was living with him when I was born. He never talks about politics. In fact, he talks about politics so little that it has caused everyone else in the family to focus their minds on conspiracy theories to fill in the void of his silence. When you have family fully focused on filling in the dots of your life and what you're involved in without, and they already were conspiracy prone, because you're giving no information, Uncle Gary, what you don't know is that throughout the years, at every Thanksgiving, every Christmas, as soon as you left, so sometimes you weren't there at all. So sometimes you would just call on the intercom and oh, hi, Uncle Gary. The whole family say hi and you say hi. But then, you were back in Colorado, but back in Tehachapi after the phone call was over and the children were going to bed, everybody would go out to the dining room and play poker and would make bets and would guess what kind of conspiracies were going on behind the scenes in the government. Now, they probably have figured out more government conspiracies between them than you have ever learned with your security clearance, ever. And that is always the nature of people who know someone who never says anything. The only problem is probably a fifth to a third of their theories are completely cockamamie, and they have no idea which ones they are. Well, my other uncle I think he's like in his 90s. Last I heard, he's still alive. My other uncle, John Smith, I would spend summers at his house, and he was the chief of police in Tehachapi. And later he was the elected sheriff of Kern County, and I helped to get him elected, actually. I rode hay rides, I handed out pamphlets. I was like 9 years old with my cousin Tasha from back in South Dakota. And many, many years ago, my uncle pulled me, and this has to do with the news story that we were watching. My uncle pulled me into his office, and I was like 9 or 10 years old. And both he and my dad used to do this shit. They would tell me stuff that was way, way beyond what I don't know if I should have known it or not, but I didn't think about it as being odd. I didn't mention it to other adults, and I didn't think about it till many years later. He pulled me in his office, and he told me there were some crimes he could never investigate. And he said the reason why was because when he was the chief of police, he had a certain understanding of things. Okay, so when you're chief of police in a little itsy bitsy town like Tehachapi, California, the big picture on my uncle's wall in his rec room is sort of a big room with cement on the floor. And so like he had a ranch style house, but they built their patio into a nice little rec room with the where you could even shut the windows, but they're usually open. There's screens and there's a big pool table in there. And that's where he'd go hang out. And he had a big goat in his backyard with huge horns. And he'd go out in that yard, and the goat couldn't be around anyone else. This goat will buck anyone else. And if you go through the yard, you got to go on a horse because it will wait for you to fall off too. And so everybody would warn you, it won't kill you, but it will buck you if you fall off. I can't remember the billy goat's name right now. But the billy goat, my uncle, the chief of police, his favorite, he had 2 dogs. He loved his dogs, but that billy goat, I mean, he was fond of the dogs, and is fond of his wife, but that billy goat, man, he'd get out there in the yard and he would wrestle with it in a fond, good-natured way. He was the only one who could go out there, and he would spend time with that billy goat about every weekend that I was ever out there on a summer. And he would go out there and he'd wrestle with the billy goat. Neither of them would get hurt. It was a game. He loved his billy goat. He'd grab it by the horns gently, and they would do this whole thing together. And the goat knew it. It was not a dominance play. It was actually a literal dancing game that him and the goat would play. Anyways, one thing about my uncle is on the wall of his room has a picture that he had framed. And it was the day that he was called out to the local swimming hole in Tehachapi because there was skinny dippers. A concerned elderly woman had called, very upset, and from my recollection, and he had rushed out there with the police team. And someone had happened to have a camera with them at the time. And what ended up happening is they ended up having to bring blankets out because it was 4 brothers, all under the age of 10, had decided to go skinny dipping in the local pond just for fun. And an older lady had called the police, and so my uncle was dispatched for the big crime of the day in Tehachapi, which was putting a blanket around the kids and try to sitting him down and offering something to drink. There was a picture of the police showing up to get the kids. It's a pretty cute picture. He kept it on the wall. They were all covered up. Obviously, they had towels and all that. They never really got in big trouble, but you can tell because the police were called on the scene as if it was a big deal. It was just these kids. It was a great picture. It was just like his favorite picture. And so basically, what he did is he called me in the office. I was like 9 years old, 10 years old, and he says, "Look, some crimes I'm never going to be able to investigate ever." He said, "What goes on is people put stuff in the lockers, and this goes on, and I can tell you now, I'm 51 or whatever. It's that when police take, like, say, drugs or guns or anything, like the majority of it does go into, probably 80% of it gets in the lockers and gets reported. But other people, there's gears that go on behind the scenes that we're not aware of. So we're aware of the outside gears of the grandfather clock, not the inside. And on the inside, some of that money is used for bribes. Some of it is used for policemen to go on vacations. Some of it is used for things that go on behind the scenes that you don't know about. And so the stuff that goes into there, even a sheriff, you're never ever going to question that and dig through those books and go look for a problem. They got other people who look into it. If someone comes to you, unless they come to you with something, you don't get into shit, because that is not, there's something else going on there that is a separate operational function of the government that goes on behind the scenes that you couldn't just shut it down if you wanted to. You think you couldn't, because you don't realize that our mafia, our gangs, all these different organizations on America actually work with the police and work with the CIA and work with the government. That's my opinion. Most of them work with each other to various extents, and they're all interconnected on some level. Now, does the average person know this? Does a first-degree Mason know what a 30-degree Mason knows? No. Does a person who just entered a gang know that? Like, does he know that his boss is buddies with the person he thought was an enemy and that they go play pool together? Probably not. He's been taught is the absolute enemy. What are you, just first degree? You haven't gotten to the 33-degree Masonhood yet. You don't know that. So, like, the idea is that, I'll give you another one. One of my foster mothers, Patricia Weisleiter, she was never through the foster care system. It was just that I needed a second mom, so my family pawned me off on a couple of them. And one of them is a woman who was trained as a CIA agent. And I say she is because it's in her autobiography of her published book. And if the CIA didn't want her to put that in her book, that she went to USaints, which is CIA school, and then was the first female prison counselor in an all-men's prison in the state of California, then they wouldn't allow her to publish books. And she's published books with it written right in the autobiography, so it's not a secret. So one of my foster mothers, for second mother, however you want to put it, for from 15, on, she also, her first thing was she not only trained spies to go into Vietnam. So those spies who went into Vietnam, she trained some of them. But she also was the first female prison counselor in all men's prison in the state of California. Counselor, like the ones that give the counseling, the therapy or whatever. And she told me the same thing as my uncle. She said there's a second set of gears that function within the gears that you see on the outside. And if you try to fuck with that second set of gears, your life will be in danger. You always leave the second set of gears. There's nothing you can do about it. And if you don't like it, quit your job. That's how it functions. We see on the outside of the prison, the rules, the this, the that, but behind the scenes, what goes on is a whole nother thing, just like my uncle said. So when I see a news story where they got a guy who is winning $400,000, right, from insider trading with Trump's team, I'm not surprised that he did it. The only thing that's surprising me is, why did they pick him out to pinpoint him? Usually if the police want to get rid of one of their own, they're not going to fucking, or the guards in the prison or something, they're not going to try to get them for the they might, I guess, but usually they're not. They might, but usually they're not going to try to go after them for the thing that all of them are doing. They're going to try to find something. They might, but they might try to find something more convenient, you know, because you don't want to really get like a lot of attention on like what you are doing. A little bit here or there, make it look like it's a little bit this. Oh, it must just be Diddy. It couldn't be that Diddy like pissed someone off who did way worse things than him. Like we tend to think like Bill Cosby, Diddy, Epstein, like these guys must have just lain. They must have been doing the worst of the worst. When in reality, if you're doing a Sherlock Holmes method of deductive reasoning, your thinking would be these guys actually probably didn't toe the line. Look at Ghislaine. She's mostly accused of messing with like 13-year-old girls. The people that she traffics with probably do tiny little babies and eat them alive. And so then like she's like a pansy compared to them. She wasn't hardcore enough. That's probably why she's really in prison. I hope she's enjoying her puppy and her extra toilet paper. And I mean that. So what did this guy do? Why did they decide, you know, he wasn't doing any kind of insider trading everybody else wasn't already doing. Come on now. And then why'd they choose to just pick him out? You didn't bet enough? You didn't kill enough Russian teenagers? What was your crime, sir, that they pinpointed you for insider trading? Just wondering. The View? It could get me a copyright, but it probably won't if I do it in snippets. I still like watching Whoopi Goldberg. I don't care. Elizabeth Warren. I'll give you an example. When Bernie Sanders dropped out of the Democratic primaries, his wife was engaged in a college a financial investigation that they had started, I think, and as soon as he dropped out of that race, that investigation was dropped. If I'm not mistaken.
He's putting America's health at risk. As the Senate Finance Committee took him to task for his controversial rules on jobs. Take a look.
To not get in trouble, we're going to go like this. Close captions. Hit the mute button. Take a look. Hey, mute button. What steps is HH taking to address the outbreaks that may arise from the World Cup? We've done better at controlling the measles outbreak than the country in the world. You're pointing out here that countries have outbreaks which increase. I can barely read the words because of the light shining in from my eyes. Hold on. Does the president know there's a historic nationwide? Just a simple yes or no, sir. Just simply yes or no. No grandstanding. I don't believe every black parent should be reparented on a rural farm. What are these guys talking about? You have the video here. We expect you to keep Americans live, but cutting cuts to infectious diseases, and you seem distracted. I think you're dangerous to the American public. And should be fired, and they cheer and applaud. That would be Goldberg. My God. I mean, if doctors on the Senate committee are saying he's doing a really bad job, I'm going to try to be here. I mean, who's going to take this? Seriously. I mean, you know, there's a report showing that COVID vaccine reduced emergency visits and hospitalizations in about half of healthy adults. It's been blocked by the CDC. I don't understand if you have an argument that by his commitment, they're blocking it. I mean, if you have a position, I like this lady over here. Okay, so do you like her leopard? The leopard print was the priestess garb in the Egyptian days. I think that leopard print jacket looks cute. I like the fit. It's adorable. It goes with her hair. The jeans are fine. You could wear it. You could wear it with jeans. It's fine. It's fine. If you were working with Prince Rogers Nelson, though, he'd tell you to go home and change your pants. She looks like a Republican. I have no idea who this woman is, but the last woman who just got shown looked like a Republican. Revolutionize medicine, and it may someday take it's like going to give us sex. Oh, Kennedy Jr. Oh, capacity to develop personalized medicine for every citizen. You know, I was just reading about a dog that had something, and his owner used AI to develop a personalized treatment and cured it. Alyssa, listen, I'm not a dog owner. Nothing off the table to cure dog's illness. But if he gets sick, and our expert is somebody who does not have a medical degree, does not have a background in science and a right. Okay, these guys are all talking COVID right now. But let's talk about their outfits. Hold on. Wait, pause. I'm trying to get the outfits, ladies. Hold on. Do you like how she put her hand behind her hair to move her hair just when I said that? We're all checking your outfits out instead. Hold on. Very Republican look. Very mom look. A very like, I'm not that dangerous. I'm safe. I'm just a safe person. But I'm smart. But I'm a safe person. You should listen to me. Smart and intelligent, but very safe and not going to hurt you. Not going to hurt you. The one on the right here. Very safe, not going to hurt you. That's what she's giving off with no volume. But I'm intelligent, so you could listen to my facts. Cutie. Okay. Her posture is so hunched right now. Sometimes when I look at Hollywood women, I get upset because Angela Lansbury, I really enjoy Angela Lansbury, and her posture was so hunched, much like this woman. And you can't hide hunched posture. It means when the person has been living a life where the people around them are keeping them in a constant state of submission that's too much, you're going to see some hunching in the posture. It's from micro expressions over years and years and years and years. They've been keeping her in too much submission. Now they're trying to put her on a stage. They did a great job with your hair, though, before they put you out there. No, your hair's like perfect. Shit. It's like post-modern J-Lo 1990s. Very neutral outfit. It's kind of got like a beige. You see, it's very cute. Very cute. She got that. Yes, it is. It is pretty when women have a little slouch in their shoulders when they're young, but it's going to hurt them as they get older. It's not going to feel as good. I mean, sometimes they seem comfortable with it, but still, I don't think it's really that great of an idea. Here, we got the whole team. Pause. I had them for a minute. Because we're going to explore the outfits. Fuck the politics. Little Orphan Annie. Is it Little Orphan Annie? Yes. Remember the little, and I'm not making fun. Do you remember the Little Orphan Annie outfit from the movie? Annie. Right there. You're sporting it, girlfriend. And the collar, like the Puritans type collar. I actually like the highlights in her hair, even though her hair is really super light highlights and dark hair, but I think that they were tastefully done. This particular one right here, I like watching her. I choose who I like, and I don't know why I like her, but I've decided that I like her. So, there's the Joy Behar over there. Let's get a close-up. Now, Whoopi's got to know. Like, whenever I watch this, I go, Whoopi, come on now, girl. You have to know that you're like saying the politics you have to say for these people. Like, Whoopi Goldberg straight up has said some stuff before where they took her off. They made her apologize and stuff like that. And I tend to think that she was right in some of the things she got in trouble for. Joy, pause. Joy Behar. She always looks cute. Look at her hair. No, it's perfect. Who the fuck does your hair? Do you what? Do you summon 20 demons from hell just to get the coif? No, it's not coiffed too tight, not too loose. It doesn't look too this, it doesn't look too that. It's just right. No, your hair looks great. The jacket's a perfect fit. Look at the earrings. Brilliant. Brilliant choice of earring. The black shirt works. The fingernails. They changed the background from the icy New York to the like green looking New York. And she looks good. She always does. Joy Behart's one of those like the Kardashians' mom. She always looks good. Don't be talking about no Joy Behar unless you want to put the comments here and we'll fight about it. Okay, let's see. Who we got next? I love the way she communicates. Look at how she moves her shoulders and her neck. She tilts her head to the side. She brings her shoulders forward. She brings her hands forward. Okay, here's the one we were waiting for. She almost looks like a Republican, but then she doesn't. She looks like she would pretend to be a Republican. We got the Elizabeth Warren. No, we don't talk shit about Elizabeth Warren. Okay, outfit analyze. Girl, you almost got away without the outfit analyze. Okay, first of all, Norse appearance. The camera may not let me zero in on her a little more. Hold on. We're just analyzing their outfits and stuff. Okay, first of all, her choice of lipstick and makeup. This is an 80s look. And it looks good. That pale pink lipstick. I haven't seen someone sport some real pale pink lipstick, and then she got some pale pink eyeshadow too. That is a 1980s makeup brought to the modern day. It looks hot. That is a frosted lipstick if I've ever seen one. Now the shoulder of that dress, or shirt rather, it comes right off the shoulder, really accentuating a V-line with that one button right there. It creates a very symmetrical sort of Star Trekian, I'm on the board of emperors sort of official feminine at the same time. I'm on the Emperor's Council, but I'm maintaining a femininity. It's a very Star Trekian outfit. The hair is almost Star Trekian level, but it has that little extra poof on the side of the bang. A little Spice Girl flair. She has a very Norwegian plus Eastern European look to her. So to me, I would be like looking at her, I'm thinking Eastern European, German, and Scandinavian. She's not actually naturally a monotheist, in my opinion, or naturally a Republican, but she fits well enough in the camp and plays the part well enough and convincingly enough that, you know, this is the best thing about watching a newscaster's face. I don't know if you can see this. My dad and I used to watch news together all the time. One of the reasons why is both my parents were, okay, so my mom is a diagnosed narcissist. And not only is she diagnosed by a neuroscientist graduate from Vanderbilt University, but she was tested as being in the top 1% of narcissists. And my father, by all accounts, was some sort of psychopath, although he never raised a voice to me. Like he never was like, he wasn't the kind of guy screaming at me, calling me names, and none of that. He was, you know, I always thought he was like the best dad ever, but but like he would sit and watch the news with me, and we would observe the newscasters in like micro detail, every little thing they're doing, and every gesture, every facial expression that passes across their face. And you know, my dad would play. He played poker so well that he had disguises in multiple tax ID numbers. I can say this because he's passed on now, but he was a master poker player. And so I know I spent my school year with a guy who never ever got a criminal record, but I know he muled cocaine. I know that he that when he was in the 70s, later he dealt drugs. He did all kinds of insurance frauds. He played poker, and you know what? Everybody loved him. To this day, I don't know if he did. I don't know all the ins and outs of it. Because sometimes the way the stories come out makes you think like what was he really doing? I've told this story before. I'll give you a great example. My dad used to love to tell me a story about how between like 75 and 80, somewhere in there, he was muling cocaine to South Dakota. And my uncle, John, had caught wind that my dad, well, he thought he figured in secret that my dad was up to something for a while. And he got some friends of his, and he got a tri-state police force involved in a drug bust on my dad, and pulled up on my dad in Clark County, Nevada. Or is it Clark County is in Nevada or Utah? Whichever place it's in. I believe it was Utah, Nevada, and California. And they pulled up on my dad in the gas station. My dad loves to tell the story because he said he saw them all coming up and he knew it was going to happen, but he went ahead and he walked into the gas station to go to the bathroom, take a dump, wash his hands. And when he walked out, all the police were there getting ready to bust him. And at that moment, another man walked up through the crowd of all of them who outranked everybody, and nobody would say a word to stop him or do anything. And he just got in the Cadillac and drove off. My dad smiled and got in a different car and drove away. And my uncle told me there was stuff about my dad he could never talk about, but it wasn't that. So go figure. So whatever my dad did or didn't do, I don't know what the capacity was. I don't know if he was doing it in a clandestine fashion or not. So basically, but my dad would sit there and he would watch the news. My mom would take me to parking lots and we would eat food and watch the people, and people watch and study people. But my dad would would sit down and watch the news with me. And so with that, I'm going to show you a little bit of what he would do. So we're watching Joy's face, her hands. We're watching for facial expressions. Now Joy is seasoned at this. Okay, now watch the looks on her face. That'll pass over. She's got watch the blonde for a minute when they close in on her face. First, she's got first she shows a very common American look, like on her facial expression, like a super common American girl look. Now she's into a serious look. Like I can't even define that one. Newscaster females can have more facial expressions pass over their face, and they just sit there. They barely do anything about it. It's very subtle. Now she's got a strained facial expression, like it could be your neighbor who's upset about her dog. Very normal facial expression. Now, ooh, look at here. Now you can tell she's gone on past the point she should have gone on a little bit. And she's pushing it. She wants people to believe her too much. Her hand gestures are getting a little jerkier. Her eyes are getting watery. Starting to feel like she might even mean it. I like who I like. I don't have to have my reasons. But I did this with my grandmother and my mom. With my grandmother. My grandmother and I would get t-shirts. Her and I would watch TV shows. No, we wouldn't watch them together. Grandma barely watched any TV. She would only watch a few things. But she would watch the initial episode and come up with a complete judgment about it. And then that would be her say on it. So say like a show came out. So with my grandma, it was different. If a show came out, my grandma would be like, okay, Blossom came out with Soleil Moon Frye. And it would be like, she'd watch the first or second episode, and I also, and then we would report back the next time we saw each other. And this is where my grandmother did not like Soleil Moon Frye, and I did. I thought she was wrong. And look, Soleil Moon Frye has a show, and my grandmother's passed away. I'm sorry. I'm sure that's not the real reason why. But I told her, I was like, no. Because my grandmother and I would talk about the people in Hollywood as if we were deciding whether or not their show would get to stay and whether they would get to keep performing or not. And so my grandmother's vote was on Oprah Winfrey, and I didn't argue her on Oprah. I've never argued her on Oprah. No, I've never argued on Oprah. My grandmother didn't. She would go back and forth. She kind of liked Sally Jesse at first, but then she decided she didn't like her. She didn't have the same thing as Oprah. Then the other one came out. There was another one that came out, and my grandmother, same thing. She was like, she's okay, but she's not gonna ever take the place of Oprah. Each one that would come out, my grandmother would just not like all the other talk show hosts, but Oprah. Nope. I didn't even argue with her on it. What's another one? She didn't agree with me on Soleil Moon Frye, which caused major issues. I knew something was wrong with my grandmother when she didn't like Soleil Moon Frye. Because I'm not trying to be mean. I love my grandmother. But I knew something was wrong with her point of view. Because I knew I was right about Soleil Moon Frye, and when I found out that my grandmother not only was claiming to not like her, but was trying to, my grandmother would speak in Queen's English, and she had perfect table manners, and she never used cuss words, and she didn't really raise her voice. I mean, she was the most polite. She could have hung out with the Queen of England, and nobody would have had an issue. Look, when she didn't like someone, the way she would do it and explain it to you was worse than a person who cusses and says bad things because of that. And so when she really didn't like Soleil Moon Frye, I was like, are we really related? Like, how could you not like, we had a debate because a part of me was like, obviously we don't think the same at all. I was crestfallen. Because for her not to like her meant that she didn't get it. And I guess, this is how things go. But I had a similar dispute with my son over Hillary Clinton. Because even though I was rooting for Sanders in the primaries, it's because of the setup. I don't vote for anybody. No. Okay, but one of my sons, I did vote one year for Trump because of the whole Bernie Sanders thing, but that doesn't mean that I have it out for Hillary. And one of my sons was like really didn't like Hillary Clinton, and he took it too far. Like, he didn't take it too far about jokes about like her, like when he did the joke that wasn't mean, because there was one joke he did that wasn't mean on his YouTube channel, but the other ones he did, when I looked at them after he died, I was like, oh, these are pretty bad. I'm not saying that's why he committed his fentanyl overdose. Although if I was insane, maybe I would come up with some weird theory like that. It would be a conspiracy theory. And it would be like, well, Either you're closing your eyes to a situation you do not wish to acknowledge, or you're not aware of the caliber of disaster indicated by the presence of a pool table in your community. Well, you got trouble, my friend. Right here I say trouble. With a capital T, and that rhymes with P, and that stands for pool. And I know all you folks are the right kind of parents. I'm going to be perfectly frank. Would you like to know what kind of conversation goes on when they're loafing around the hall? They were trying to help Bevo. Cubans. Tailor-mades like cigarette fucking pigs and break them all down. They're going to cover a telltale breathless silence. One fine night, they left the pool hall, headed for the dance of the armory, libertine men, scarlet women, ragtime, shameless music, they are your son, your daughter, in the arms of jungle, and Lansing. Asteria. Ramsey Idle brings a double playground. So, anyways, yeah. What are we talking about? All right. There's no real point. It's just clickety-clackety, clickety-clackety.